Aunt Nell.
Knock, knock.
Ooh, who's there?
A Boost Mobile expert, here to deliver and set up your all-new iPhone 17 Pro, designed to be the most powerful iPhone ever.
You call that a knock-knock joke?
This isn't a joke. Boost Mobile really sends experts to deliver and set up your phone at home or work.
Okay, well, it's just that when people say knock-knock, there's usually a joke to go with it.
Like I said, this isn't a joke.
So the knock-knock was just you knocking?
Yeah, that's how doors work.
Get the new iPhone 17 Pro delivered and set up by an expert wherever you are. Delivery available for select devices purchased at boostmobile.com. Terms apply.
This episode contains stories that include homophobia, biphobia, bereavement, and xenophobia.
This is
Queer Roots and Roots.
Stories of where we come from
And how we move in the world today.
We are a group of people living in London.
We're gay or queer, and we're mostly men.
And some non-binary people who were raised as men.
We're all either migrants to the UK and are racialized as being from an ethnic minority.
Ill. That's just a crappier way of saying global majority.
We all have different experiences and perspectives on the world. Some of us are racialized as black or brown.
Some as white.
Many of us have experienced racism and xenophobia.
Some of us are gay and some queer.
Some of us moved to the UK by ourselves.
And some are from an ancestral line that includes migrants.
We all,
every single one of us,
knows what it's like to be seen as other.
That is what brings us together.
We're part of a community project run by the Love Tank,
a not-for-profit community interest company that promotes health and well-being of underserved communities through education, capacity building, and research.
We wanted to make this podcast to tell our stories of crossing borders. Borders of nation-states, of gender and sexuality.
As a collective. We don't have a boss or a Beyonce. So, every episode of Queer Roots and Roots has a different host and a different set of voices from our group.
Our promise to you is that our podcast is gorgeous, fierce, super gay,
and revolutionary.
All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1. I'm Dale. My pronouns are he, him. I'm hosting this episode, and I want to talk about community. This is our 4th episode of Queer Roots and Roots, and 4 is my favourite number. What does community mean to me? Community is my circle, the collective of people I operate around most often, people who make me feel safe, loved, and that's reciprocated. It's a part of my life that keeps me going outside of work commitments and having to remember to breathe and eat food. Growing up, my community wasn't great. I had a lovely group of friends at school, but home things were much different. My relationship with my mum was difficult. So because of that and other reasons, I stopped living with her when I was 11 and went to live with my grandma. My grandma was the kind of woman who would do big shopping and carry all the bags home in her hands by herself. She was a loving and caring woman. She cooked all the time, was funny and laughed and joked, loved gardening, loved cleaning the house, and was Jamaican to their roots. She was from Jamaica and from a generation that just got on with things. We had a shared dream of me going to university, and she was obsessed with buying me a suit for my graduation. But she was elderly. She was in her 80s. And less than a year into me living with her, she had a stroke. After that, she needed a cane to walk, and she began to suffer from dementia. I was a carer for years, but eventually it was just too much. We got separated. She went to live in a care home, and I had to go back to living with my mum. But my mum kicked me out, and at 17, I was homeless. For my episode of Queer Roots and Roots, I've picked some stories that explore the dark and the light, the loneliness that anyone can find themselves feeling, and the joy of community, friendship, and solidarity. Are you ready? Because in this episode, we're going to go through it. There's a story that Rad tells of being all alone, of not being supported, of being treated like shit. And it's such a lonely feeling. So I wanted Rad to tell his story.
Myself and my flatmate, which was also queer, we were going back home from a student union bar party. And bear in mind, this isn't like central London. This is Hampstead we're talking about. This is a very quiet, very nice, very posh area. And it wasn't even that late. It would have been like 1 a.m. And we were just walking home, Finchley Road. And we looked very gay. We were dressed up like very, very queer. And this man just shouted something at us, which I can't even remember what, but he said something that I think was quite homophobic to my friend, who's a woman. And I think she said something back, and I don't think she said anything mean. I think it was just a case of her being like, "What did you say?" And he literally just punched her in the face, and she just fell right on the floor, and he just ran away. And we were just both there. I was basically holding her in my hands, just unconscious, and I'm just like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? This is like in the middle of the night, but in front of a bank, so you'd think there's lots of cameras around. I immediately called the ambulance, I called the police. They arrived within like an hour, and the ambulance people were very helpful. Now, when it comes to the police, there was not really much that they were willing to do, or they just were kind of like, well, this is not a very like big crime. We don't have any witnesses. There's nobody else has reported anything like that in the area. So we were like, well, this is exactly what happened. This is exactly the time it happened, because I called minutes after it happened. There's a bank outside. There's got to be cameras, and they just got back to us, I think, a week later, being like, well, we didn't find anything, so we're going to close this case now. And I think for me, it wasn't even that traumatic. It just changed my attitude towards this country. And I think I didn't think of it as this safe haven as I always have.
That's such a shame that happened to Rad. And I really thank him for sharing that with us. He was new to London when that happened, just a student. Moved to London from Poland, slowly making friends and feeling rejected by his adoptive culture. This is why we need our people. I know what it's like to hurt, to feel rejected, to feel cast aside like that. When my grandma was in the care home, I lived in a youth hostel. I was the chair of a youth parliament, and I started doing campaigns on youth homelessness and mental health. I made it to university, and I guess I was starting to get to know my sexuality and really make sense of being bisexual. I came out to my mum, but not by choice. And she said she wished I was dead. Words like that, trust me, they don't really ever leave you. I remember visiting my grandma, but she couldn't recognize me anymore. She always looked at me as her son, and I saw her as my mum. I didn't know how to process that she no longer recognized me. I look back now, and I know I was grieving. I was losing my grandma, the only community I ever had. And I was searching for a new community. I was studying sociology and criminology at the University of East London. Going into my third year, I had to start working on my dissertation. I decided I wanted to study the experiences of black queer men in London. What's the difference between our sexual orientation, our feelings, and our stated sexuality? What influences how we express ourselves, such as religion, cultural background, location. I looked for black queer men to interview, and one of the ones I found was a guy called Phil. You might know him. He'd written an article online about his experiences that were similar to mine. I just had to meet him. I interviewed him in his workplace. He was working in sexual health campaigns, reaching out to black queer men. And he introduced me to Mark Thompson, who set up the Love Tank. I'd met some black queer men at just the time I needed a new community.
My name is Saaqib. I am 33 years old, and when I was 8, my collarbone popped out. I didn't realise for a very long time.
My name is Amar. I'm 28 and my pronouns are they, them. And a fun fact about me is that when I was 10 years old, I got called into school to apologise for making a white boy feel uncomfortable about imperialism.
They're other members of our group, and they kind of come as a pair. There's a lot more to this story, because they make a little community together. I want to listen to how they've done this.
Part of me thinks that there is an elitism to knowing your culture or being able to have got to the stage where you're familiar with your culture. My experience of British Asianness or Scottish Asianness is a fractured one. There's not an easy familiarity with the culture for a number of reasons. Go on, what are you going to say?
I guess given all of that, going to somewhere like Green Street was quite significant, I think, for both of us, maybe in different ways. I mean, how would you explain Green Street for the gore out there?
There's different concentrations of different communities from different parts of the subcontinent across London, and Green Street is one of those concentrations in East London.
Yeah. Also, loads of brown people and cheap jewellery shops.
Oh, you wanted the cute stuff.
Yeah. Why did you ask me to come with you to Green Street?
We went to Green Street for my birthday. It was on my actual birthday. We went shopping for some jewellery for my outfit. We went together because you're my friend.
This is true.
And we do frivolity quite well together.
I think we're really good at frivolity. I think we like nailed it.
So Green Street and me buying jewellery and having like an easy, fun time is what I needed. And you were part of that.
I'd never been to Green Street before. And I think what I loved about it was the anonymity. So like no one who was there would recognise me from like my local Sikh or Punjabi community that I grew up in. I could be like as explicitly faggot as I wanted to be, and also be thisy, and also be in that space that like wasn't a white space, you know, where there were references that I got and jokes we could make, and whatever reactions we were going to get, it was going to be like slightly contained and slightly protected from that community. And I found it really liberating to be able to play with that for the first time.
I think I'd been to Green Street once before at some point with my mum, actually. One Christmas for food, because she came to London to spend Christmas with me and everything's closed, obviously, apart from
Green Street.
Yeah, the Daisy areas. And then we met a couple of friends and we had some food, and I couldn't eat that much because everything had nuts in it. And I went full uncle and got the bill completely reduced. So dinner for 4 people was like 15 quid.
That's British Asian culture.
I was really proud of it. But I think I don't have fear of going to places like that because I don't know anybody. I don't really have a fear of going there because I didn't grow up here and they're not from my immediate community or extended family, and I won't see people that I know. But one of the barriers to me going to places like that is having somebody to enjoy it with. Ultimately, I would feel a little bit like an outsider going into that space and vaguely connecting with the Dubatta.
I think there's something really important there about like our experiences of community are not just about going into a space where there are brown people. Like so much of why Green Street mattered to me and was important to me was like experiencing community. There was like going there with like you and with our other friends and experiencing it like as a group of like queer South Asians rather than just kind of being in a street where there were brown people. Like community is about more than just demographic, right?
Yeah. The favourite thing about that day is the frivolity and how it was accepted immediately by the people in the shops. So the aunties behind the counters or the people who told me my size in a jacket, which I thought was kind of rude.
Because they said you needed a bigger size.
And I said, no, I was wearing a puffy jacket, okay? You've seen how big my jacket is.
Okay, like it was a big jacket.
I was so upset.
We couldn't afford anything in that shop anyway.
I could.
Acha.
It's before I pay my taxes.
My favourite moment was when we were looking at that fucking peacock like brocade and the pearls and the headpiece, and the auntie said, what did she say? She said, "Tere jaise te bahut log honde apne photo shoot lay." She was like, "We get a lot of your sort in here for their photo shoots." And like, we knew exactly what she meant by like your sort. And I love that because she's obviously clocked us. And it wasn't new to her either. And I felt a sense of connectedness that it wasn't necessarily a surprise to her. She was aware of the existence of queer people and, you know, queer South Asians. And it's fine as long as she made a sale.
Yeah, I didn't get that from that comment. I often just think they're referring to like us not being from the area. Like only with you there do I recognize it as some acknowledgement of there are queers in the house. I also don't know if that person would have said something like that if it was just me by myself.
We were cackling. We were fully shrieking. Like, we were completely making like a campy spectacle of it. And I loved it. But also, you've got that akkar, that like street smart and that attitude, like that I don't have when I'm speaking in English, but I do have when I'm speaking in Punjabi. And so I feel like we struck like a really nice balance. So we went in with that akkar, with that kind of like, we weren't quiet at all. And it felt amazing to be able to be loud.
And demanding, wanting to see everything from the top shelf. But not that one because it's too expensive. And not that one because it's got a fabric string fastening. I don't want that.
And not that one because I don't like the shade of that gold.
No, different one, please. And while I think making a sale is one of the main reasons of engagement, I also think there's like people chose to go beyond that limit because they really enjoyed us having in that space. So where they were egging us on to look at more stuff that we hadn't looked at before, or like an auntie trying to get a sense of my aesthetic and then bringing out more stuff because I guess she wanted me to feel something. Maybe like language is a bit limited here, but it feels like an unspoken acceptance.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you going to say the wig thing?
Yeah, you say the wig thing.
No, you're better at it. Go on.
I think I really love another favourite moment was when the auntie was trying to convince you to buy this headpiece and she's trying to convince you to buy it and you were like...
I look at her and I say, I don't have any hair. That needs hair, doesn't it?
And she said, what did she say?
I think she said something like, it's okay, you can get a wig. Lots of my friends do it.
All the girls be getting wigs.
I think I just said thank you for your support.
And there was definitely a back and forth. She was like really insistent that you could just get a wig.
It's so normal for me to get a wig.
Yeah.
And she thought it would be fine. God bless her.
That is what I mean by allyship, you know? Yeah. Get that woman at Pride in London.
With wigs for everyone.
Wigs for everyone. I mean, okay, I guess like Green Street was really important for me because I'd never been shopping for femme Indian clothing or jewelry before. I'd never felt safe enough. I'd never felt brave enough. I'd never felt strong enough. And, you know, like I get like abuse and stuff like on the street like all the time for dressing femme. But when it comes from our people, there's something about it that cuts deeper. So I never felt strong enough in myself or by myself to go into these spaces and navigate them. But I could do that when I went with you. And I think that's what I mean when I say that the real experience of community was the feeling that we had each other's backs, that we understood each other, and that other people there were relating to us kind of as like a crew, you know, which we didn't have either of us when we met at Pride.
There's something here that I want to try to articulate that I don't think I've done before in such a conscious way. Like, while it's fun to talk about frivolity or like practicing culture, I suppose when I look back at every other opportunity there's been to practice culture and do culture, it's been shut down immediately in like sometimes aggressive ways and sometimes in like quite innocuous ways, where it doesn't feel that important for us to get excited about earrings and get excited for each other to have earrings or try things on. That feels quite maybe superficial or silly or light. But I think that's the point. That lightness is stuff that have never had before, because the aunties would usually stop me from looking at stuff that I wasn't supposed to be looking at. Or when I reached a certain age, I stopped being able to access the Mendies. Yeah, I like shiny things and nice fabrics, and that's part of how I want to do culture.
I know exactly what you mean. Like, one memory that always stands out to me now is I remember my mum being out of the house and me being maybe like 7 years old and kind of sneaking into the cupboard and getting her dupatta, her like veil, and kind of dancing around like a Bollywood heroine, but knowing enough at that age to kind of carefully fold it and put it back and never mention it to anyone. And so that's a kind of, we've been calling it frivolity, but like what it also is gender expression through a different cultural language that we've been shut out from. And like it, it was frivolous, it was joyful, it was playful what we were doing, but that play is itself like gender expression that we haven't had access to. And having access to it felt so genuinely incredible. Like it just felt it felt like a whole world. It felt like a whole way of seeing my culture as this backwards thing, or this quite staid or kind of like calcified thing that hasn't moved forward. Part of that kind of evaporated, because I was like, but I can just play with this, or like we can just play with this. And suddenly it felt like all of that was kind of shut away and only for the women, or only for, other people, was suddenly something that was also for me. And so, yeah, maybe frivolity isn't quite the right word for it, because like the reason that we haven't been able to play around with it in that way is because the cost of it is not light, is not frivolous. The cost of it is being ostracized in the community. It can be violence, whether it's here or like back in the bin. Like the cost of it is very, very real, just to have that lightness. And so it took a lot of strength, and it meant so much for us to then be able to experience it, right?
Boost Mobile is now sending experts nationwide to deliver and set up customers' new phones.
Wait, we're going on tour?
We're delivering and setting up customers' phones. It's not a tour.
Not with that attitude.
Introducing Store to Door. Switch and get a new device with expert setup and delivery.
Delivery available for select devices purchased at boostmobile.com.
You and I talk about the word community frequently, but what I really loved about our experience on Green Street is that it felt like we were doing the practice of community in a really beautiful way. The community I experienced with you and some other people that we love is and can be as simple as me wanting to get some earrings, but not being sure if it was worth $10.99, and you just buying it for me without me knowing. What's the word? Like on
Sugar daddy?
There is nothing sugar or daddy about you, sir.
Huh.
What's the word for like nothing holding you back? Like
liberated. Like
you weren't even, it's not like either of us like rich, right? You weren't even worried about spending £25 on that necklace for me because it was my birthday. And we didn't hesitate. There was no hesitation about embracing that joy.
जब प्यार हुंदा कोई हिसाब किताब नहीं हुंदा. Where there's love, there's no bookkeeping, there's no accounting.
Oh,
it's just love.
Oh, that's a really nice saying. I don't know it.
I say it all the time. You don't listen to me.
It's true.
Those two make such a lovely pair, don't they? I found their conversation really cute, insightful, and inspiring. I know what they mean about finding friendship, creating community with a person who you click with. It's your found family. I remember thinking that when I was interviewing black queer men as part of my dissertation project. I felt good about myself. Uni was challenging, but I enjoyed the learning, and I felt that parts of who I was starting to fall into place. The project was really helping me to process my sexuality and who I was. I hadn't been able to visit my grandma since I realized she didn't recognize me. It was too hard to. I remember doing the final interview for my dissertation and going to sleep that night, literally putting my head on the pillow and thinking that once I finish this dissertation, I'm going to go and see her again. But I woke up the next morning to a call from my sister. My grandma had passed. I couldn't finish my dissertation. I couldn't finish university. I just had to take a break. Going to university had all been tied up in my feelings towards my grandma. It was our dream, and I was so conflicted about leaving, but I just knew I had to go. I wanted to achieve our dream, but I just couldn't. To me, my grandma was the sun, and I was just a planet orbiting her. She was my whole world, my whole life. And with my son gone, I was just floating off. I didn't know who I was. It was a dark time, and I tried to redefine myself. I really had to. I went back to my community, to Phil and to Mark. The Love Tank hired me to run a project called Black Health Matters, and since I was used to being an activist, joining this organisation just made sense for me. It gave me a job, but it was much more than a job. It was community. Whilst I worked there, I returned to university to finish my dissertation and my degree. Mark and my tutor at uni helped me to fit it around my work. I remember rereading my initial dissertation proposal and thinking, fucking hell, this guy's going through a lot. I literally put everything on that page. It was so personal, it didn't feel academic at all, and I was clearly just dumping all of my trauma onto that page to try and make sense of myself. And I guess I was. But I graduated though. I had the big ceremony and the gown and the hat. My sisters came to the ceremony, and so did Phil and Mark, who by now I considered my big brother and my uncle. Phil and Mark were a big part of getting me to where I am now. It felt symbolic. My dissertation was how I met them, so having them there as part of my ending was important. They were the transition. Later, my sisters and I went to my grandma's grave. I'd hired the gown and the hat for some extra time so I could wear it there, and we took some pictures with me next to her. Finally, I'd achieved our dream, and though she couldn't be there with me in person, she was there with me in spirit, and that's what was important. So, community, friendship, solidarity. I'd graduated, I had a job, and I'd started making more and more black queer friends. The power of this can't be underestimated. It was healing and it was comforting. And I can't hear enough about people finding their communities. Two people who have a similar story are friends Chase and Tokyo. I asked them to record a conversation about this on a day that is very special to their friendship.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. 1 year on.
1 year on, innit?
Can you imagine?
We met each other a year ago today.
I'm Tokyo. I am 31, going on 32 very shortly. I am from South Africa. And something interesting about me, I'm a chronic overthinker and overdoer. Yeah, and I talk a lot.
Well, I'm Chase. I'm 27. I'm from London. My pronouns are he, him. Interesting fact about me is I blagged my way onto the main stage at Festival with Diplo and Major Lazer in 2014 and got to party with them. Felt like a rock star for 20 minutes. It was nice. So you're from South Africa initially, and you've lived in London for how long now?
It's coming up to it'll be 2 years in September.
Yeah. And why did you move to London?
I feel like there were a number of reasons. A part of me felt like I was running away, but not running away. It was a decision. It was just a lot. I think COVID made me realize that I can just do whatever I want with my life, and like nothing is actually that deep. If I want to move somewhere, I can move somewhere. If I want to move back, I can move back. And I also just, at the time, I mean, London is a lot. I mean, when you're a visitor, you think this place is amazing. But now that I live here, I'm like, I don't know about the lack of sunshine. But it was primarily that if I'm like really into my feelings, I'm just like, I think a part of me felt like I was just making a decision to like run away a little bit from what? I'm not sure, but I just felt like I needed something new. I needed a change of environment. And I feel like at the time, London felt like a place where I could be myself. That was my reason.
Have you found that since you moved here?
Somewhat. London is a lonely place as well. Yeah. I thought I was going to move here and it was going to be so easy to make friends, make connections. I actually don't think I valued how much of an important thing community is before I moved here. And I think I took it for granted that you can just move somewhere and then get to know people and everything is going to be fine. And I think it's difficult in most places, but I think it's especially difficult in London.
What do you think it is about London that makes it more challenging?
I think it's just such a big city, and also the fact that like life is so hard here. People just don't have the time like to build those kind of connections. I think just having to survive living here on its own is like really challenging. I don't think people have a lot left after just doing what they need to do, and I think also people are already in their circles of friends, and especially like as a queer person, it's especially difficult because the cultural issues around making friends, like it's a little bit more complex, and I think I took that for granted.
Is there anything like distinctive about the queer scene in London that you appreciate or don't appreciate?
Let's start with things I don't appreciate, because I'm quite a spicy person. What I don't appreciate, I think there's like a level of like superficiality, if I can call it that. Like it's more of like, are you worth knowing? Are you someone that I'm interested in knowing, rather than like, do we get along? I get that kind of a vibe. Maybe I'm reading into it. But I got a lot of that. That's the vibe I was getting. Like, so I'm not saying every single person I've met is like that, but that's the general vibe.
Anything that you appreciate about the
what I appreciate
in London?
There are so many hidden gems of people in London, because like I think as much as I said what I said just now, when you find amazing people, really amazing, and you're like, oh my God, surely like this person, where have they been all my entire life? Like, it's just really amazing. That's what I like about London. So many interesting people, really interesting people, kind people. So it's almost like you really have to like find your people.
Does the joy of finding them make it worth the stress of the negative experiences?
It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Good.
Because once I started finding my people, it was so amazing. I don't know. I feel like I don't have the English to describe the feeling. It's like, it's almost like you're seeing like a mirror of you, but like reflected in other people. And I don't mean that in a vain way. You just feel understood and you feel seen. London is really nice when you have your people.
And in the 2 years since you've been here, what would you say have been 2 events or days that have just stood out to you as like notable highlights?
I think the day we met was really cool, because I was not expecting that. I mean, we're not going to get into how we met. However, if you understand, that was the last place, that I was expecting to make a friend. And I think because I actually approached Chase, he looked like a friendly face and also like really good looking as well. So I was like, oh, who's that?
Thank you.
If I'm being honest, in that moment, I think I was also doing it out of a sense of like, I don't like the word desperation. It doesn't sound like very
Sounds
good.
a bit desperate.
It sounds desperate. It was so innocent and like so, like, okay, I was having like this internal conversation in my head. I'm like, okay, you're in this place, you don't know anyone here. You're feeling like you're by yourself. Okay, the solution is go and speak to someone. And that's literally what I did. And here we are now. Like, it was actually like, so I didn't actually think that like things like that were possible. So it's sort of like emboldened me to be a lot more open, willing to actually like go up to people and like open my mouth. And you were like so nice, and I'll never forget that. Like, it was really amazing, because I think in that moment it really came at a good time, because I was starting to doubt why I came here, because I'm just like, I'd been in London since I think for like almost 6 months before that, and I just was not like making friends or like building connections the way I thought I would. Like, nothing was working. So I was just like, oh my God, this is awful. Like, the sun isn't shining. I don't know anyone here. And it's just, this is like not really working out. I was like, is it me? Or, and I think it's really true when they say that if you want to make friends, go to places where people do what you enjoy. And sorry, that would be funny if you know where we met, because it's so true. Because I'm like, oh wow, like, we are really good friends, and we met somewhere where I don't think
mutual interest.
Yeah, mutual interest. It's definitely mutual interest. So
it's funny you say that though, because I feel like since we've become friends, when we've been out in social situations, I see you approach people and start conversations with people, and I love it. I just think it's so admirable and it's nice to see, and I think that's a quality in you that I really appreciate. And
I really have to answer that honestly. It's really a case of fake it till you make it. I was like, it worked once, I'm gonna do it again. And like, I'm like, this is a new thing I'm trying now. Like, I never used to be like that before. I was very much, I only speak if someone's like, if I feel like their body language is looking a little bit warm. But now I'm just like, even if it doesn't work out, it's okay. Like, we try, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
We move on.
So definitely, I think you were like quite pivotal in that change. Like, literally, you were the cause of.
I will send you my invoice details, and we can get that payment.
I will happily settle that invoice, because it really changed a lot for me. I'm still quite shy. Even though I speak a lot. Yes,
I don't see that.
I'm very shy.
Really?
Yeah, I just have a good poker face.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Very shy.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of opinions in my head, and they're very spicy. So it comes across like I like to be very like confrontational, but I'm not really.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't actually understand how deeply I was craving that kind of like connection with people. And I think it manifested, I'll never forget. I remember after meeting you that day, and then we kept in touch, and I was like, oh wow, he's actually responding. Like, people actually like it. I was like, oh, this is going well. And I think I got a little bit too excited, and I had the best intentions, but I know it can start feeling a little bit creepy. And when I got off the phone after that conversation, I'll remind you what the conversation was. I was like, okay, I definitely like screwed that up. He's definitely not going to speak to me now. Like, he doesn't want to be friends.
What was it?
I remember it was, I think it was either my birthday or your birthday. I can't remember. But I was like, let's go to bed. I was just so like, you know when you jump the gun and you're like skipping like 5 stages, and I was just like, let's just do this. Let's go somewhere. I think that's when I thought about it. Like, after you politely declined and was like, not now. I actually was like, you know what? I maybe needed to hear that, because I also used to struggle a lot, well, I still do, with like setting boundaries. And I was like, that's a healthy boundary. That's actually a green flag. This is not bad. Like, why are you wanting to like go somewhere with someone that you literally just met anyway? Like, I think I was just like so eager to seal the deal, because I'd like to also believe that I have a good eye for things. I feel like when I recognize something that's great, I just want to like, seal the deal. So,
do you remember why I said no?
I think I was just focusing so much on like dealing with the rejection that I don't remember exactly.
I was broke. I just had like no money, and I was just like had a lot on. Like, it was nothing to do with like you or a boundary crossed or anything. Like, I thought it was cool. Like, it wasn't anything to do with you at all. Like, I didn't feel like that was inappropriate, or I thought it was very like kind and exciting. And you don't meet someone very often and like have a connection with them, and then they're like, let's go on holiday. Like, it's random and spontaneous.
No, very spontaneous.
And that's beautiful. Like I would say, yes, understand boundaries and assess situations respectfully, but nah, I'm so sure. I was like, nah, I'm just broke right now. Like, I can't make it. It wasn't a boundary crossed for me. I wasn't like, that's a bit weird. Like, he's a weirdo. Like, nah, not at all.
That is. Do you know I've been feeling like this whole time? I was
really?
Like, I was like, this is so premature. I literally don't know you. Like, I was like, yeah, it actually makes sense. Like, you need to calm down.
And then we went to Berlin.
Yeah, and then we actually did it later on.
Berlin. It was great.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
You got any questions for me?
Do I have any questions for you? What has your experience been? Because obviously, like, you are born and raised in London, so you've had like all of these like transitions throughout your life, and like coming into yourself, becoming an adult, all of those. How have you viewed, like, how has your view of London sort of like shaped you? Like, what do you think? Like, the same questions you asked me, do you think the answers have changed throughout different phases of your life? And
So I was born and raised in London, in North London, Islington, to be more specific. North London's also the home of Adele, you know, one of the biggest stars. I like to say that because I feel like there's a lot of North London slander. Everyone's like, oh yeah, South is the greatest, but
It is the
no,
greatest.
okay, all right, he's
South
been here
London.
for 2 years, okay, right. But yes, I was born and raised in London, and then I went to Grenada when I was 10 and came back when I was 17. And I've been back since, apart from 2 years in Manchester. And overall, I do love London. I love how big it is, how many different characters there are. I feel like when I want to feel like a small fish in a big pond, I can feel that in London. But when I want to feel like a big fish in a small pond, I can just stay in my area and where I know and bump into people that I know. But I can empathize with you with London feeling very lonely. When I came back at 17, it was not easy. Like my living situation wasn't stable. It was just, it was really, really hard and really, really lonely. And I feel like I'm only now at 27 finding a level of stability and understanding the importance of community and friendships and making time for friendships, similar to what you said about people not having time to invest in relationships, and because of dealing with life and
because of capitalism. Yeah,
exactly.
I can talk a lot about that.
Yeah. I'm now realizing how important it is to prioritize relationships, to prioritize rest, to prioritize connection, because those things just feel so good. When I look back on last year and I think of all the things that felt really, really good, it was hanging out with my friends. It was being at Black Pride. It was being in the venue, in the party. You know, those things felt really, really good. The conversations. So I'm really learning how to prioritize those better. But overall, I do feel really grateful to live in London. We just have access to so many different things. Even this project that we're a part of. You know, when we went to the workshops the other day that Dale put on, I just remember going home just thinking like, oh, I'm so lucky to be a part of this and have these spaces and these networks, especially coming from Grenada, where, you know, being gay, being queer is just so undercover because, you know, it's legal out there. I just feel so lucky and fortunate to be able to live my life openly and have my relationships be open and not have that fear of, you know, is anyone going to find out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think overall I just feel lucky and grateful. I'm just learning how to maximize it whilst being in London, while existing in London, and prioritize love while being in London. But I love London. I feel grateful for London.
I'm learning to love it.
Yeah. I think you have to. I think as well, being in Grenada, I was out there for 7 years and I hated all 7 years of it. And I look back now and I just really wish that I had found moments of appreciation more. I think no matter where you are, I think you really have to make some effort to appreciate something about it while you're here.
Yeah.
Because realistically, I think from the conversations that we have, I don't think you're going to be here forever. I don't think I'm going to be here forever in London.
Mm-hmm.
So I think while we're here, we got to make the most out of it. We got to go to all the theatre shows. We got to go to all the parties. We got to eat all the food. You know,
that's
really
so
experience
true.
it.
Yeah, that is true. I couldn't agree more. If I think about the fact of where I'm from South Africa, as I said earlier on. If I'm being honest, I just feel like the social infrastructure isn't there. It's not there because I think legality is one issue, and I'm not downplaying that at all because I know a lot of people, it's literally a case of, it's a matter of life and death. But I feel like socially, people are progressive, but are they? Don't feel like I experienced them to be as progressive, and I just feel like this whole process of like identity and accepting your identity and like enjoying your identity, it needs to be something where you feel like there's like a firm foundation being enabled to exist. That was a big part, and I'm glad you said that, because as much as I said London is a lonely place, in terms of like making you feel like you're not abnormal or I think like something is wrong with you, it doesn't do that. London is one of those places where you can like enjoy so many parts of your identity without it being a big deal. I've noticed like small changes. Like I used to always cut my hair. Now like I'm experimenting with different hairstyles. I don't think
I remember your blonde era during the summer.
Yeah, during I had a blonde summer moment. Yeah, I would never have done that back home.
Yeah.
And not because like people don't do it. I just feel like it's just like I said, like the social infrastructure is just not there for me. Maybe it is for other people, but like I just didn't experience it like that. So yeah, like I'm happy to be here and I'm learning to enjoy it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We're happy to have you. Happy anniversary. I love you.
Happy anniversary. Love you too.
I like Tokyo talking about finding people who make you feel understood and seen, and Chase talking about prioritizing connection and expressing love and pouring into each other. It's so cute. We have to find each other. Community building, particularly as Black queer people, needs to be intentional. It doesn't happen by chance. You need to make the effort to form bonds like Tokyo and Chase. In many ways, we are denied conventional community because of our marginalized identities. I remember it was 2019, after my grandma passed, when I started to make more Jamaican friends and more Jamaican queer friends. So I was meeting more Black queer men, and it led me to Black Twitter, and we all know what Black Twitter's like. And it led me to Black queer Twitter, and we all know what that's like. Someone made a Twitter group for Black queer men in London, and I thought, fuck it, I want to join that. 4 years later, and that group chat is still going strong. It was through a snowball effect of joining that group that I made some of my closest friends. Shout out to Marcus and Shamar. Love you guys. This episode is a bit like me. A bit of trauma and a bit of joy. Hearing how bleak the world can be, like Rad's story, and also how much we can love and support each other, well, it's all quite a lot. I'm dragging myself through therapy right now. I've been in and out since I was 17, and I restarted recently. This round is particularly challenging, because I'm looking at parts of my experience that I never look at. It's been shaky recently, unpacking heavy stuff, but I'm getting through it, and I know it's worth it in the long run. I'm doing quite well. I have a successful work life, I'm a proud Black and queer man, and I have community. Okay. And in finding my own orbit after losing my grandma, I'm reconnecting with my childhood dream of becoming an author. I'm writing poetry, but no, I will not be sharing it on the podcast, but it is on my Instagram at Dale_TGO4. Again, my favorite number. Poetry is what I do to help with my mental health. When I was going through a difficult patch and off work for a while, my writing literally saved my life. It was how I processed what I was going through in my mind. It gave me something to wake up to every morning, and it was part of my spiritual well-being. I'm in a writing group now with some friends, and I'm working on a novel. I'm Dale Taylor Gentles. Thank you for listening to my episode of Queer Roots and Roots. Stories of where we come from and how we move in the world today. If you're aged 16 to 25 and experiencing homelessness of any kind, there's a charity called Centrepoint. They have a helpline where you can get confidential advice and support, and they provide homeless young people with accommodation, health support and life skills in order to get them back into education, training and employment. A link will be in the show notes.
Queer Roots and Roots is produced for the Love Tank by Aunt Nell. Produced, edited, and engineered by Tash Walker and Adam Smith. Assistant producers, Saaqib Afzal, Jose Carlos Mejia, Amardeep Singh Dillon, Chase Edwards, Stanley Ianu, and Rad Konichna. Music by E. Doi. Creative design and artwork by Richard Kahoji. Recorded at Pirate Studios in Dalston and Hackney Wick, East London. Executive producers Mark Thompson and Day Taylor Gentles.
Boost Mobile is now sending experts nationwide to deliver and set up customers' new phones.
Wait, we're going on tour?
We're delivering and setting up customers' phones. It's not a tour.
Not with that attitude.
Introducing Store to Door. Switch and get a new device with expert setup and delivery.
Delivery available for select devices purchased at boostmobile.com.